Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. Finish this painting, but I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
Well, hello, everybody. Hello. Hey, Michael, Happy New Year. It happened. We reset the calendar. Woohoo!
Exactly. We made it another revolution around the sun. Congratulations, everyone.
That was hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean the New Year's Eve itself. I mean, making it to New Year's Eve was a hard work.
Yeah, no kidding. We'll get on that too here in a minute because, of course, it started off with a bang.
More like it started off with a Allahu Akbar.
Yeah, with a chop.
For anybody who might be offended because I'm mocking, that situation, I've been telling you about it, so I get to mock it. Hey, sis, what's up? Chrysos here. As always, thank you for joining us. If you have any comments, any questions, put them in the comment section. We will grab it, but we'll answer it. We have a lot to talk about because we were kind of off air for almost a week or maybe more than that, and we got to catch up with everything. So we're just going to keep talking. If you have questions, comments, we'll grab them. As always, call to action. Everything is on the lower third. LiveUpToFreedom.com, MyPillow.com, promo code AC21, LUTFStudio.com, promo code Frank, all that good stuff on the lower third. So just glimpse at it. Catch on. You want to start with your announcements of 2023, Michael, or should I start with that?
Why don't you kick things off, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so I'll start here. After having almost 10 days of vacation, if you call it, I was working somewhat here and there, but not as much as I normally do. I did some research, as I always do. I looked around, Michael. You know me. I'm like constantly looking and looking into some of the things that happened in last week of last year, and what's coming in next 2-3 months of this year. I made my decision that I am officially. Buckle up. Some of you might get really upset. Some of you might even stop supporting or following me, and that is absolutely your right. But I am officially not a Republican any longer, even by registration. I'm done. Even by registration, I'm officially independent. The struggle to try to keep up with the game of it all was taking away from me being simply an American. The feeling of last few months of the year was exhausting. It was disappointing. And after doing the actual looking into it, this whole party name has become too much of a game for me to care for. Yeah. I don't want to belong to neither, nor do I want to defend one just to defend it or bash one to just bash it. I literally went on and changed my registration to that extent. I'm like, I'm not going to be part of it. So yeah. That's my newest change in new me, new year.
Well, this is the thing. Like anymore, the parties don't really seem to mean anything. It does seem to be us versus them. It's the uniparty, the corruptocrats, whatever you want to call them. This single body in Washington that has each other's backs and is always stands against the people. It's gotten to obscene levels. But it was really highlighted again after the last 2022 election when the RNC and all these governing bodies for the Republican refused to do anything, refused to step in. You know, they pushed against real conservatives in Alaska and in other races. And they sold us out and threw us under the bus again. I almost feel like we really are insane because we keep expecting a change, but you finally made one. You changed your party registration, got away from them, and I'll probably be doing the same. The only reason I might not is primaries. I do still want to have some influence there, and I know in some states, if you register as an independent, you can't vote in your party's or any party's primary. I could talk.
Oh no, Michael, where we're going, you're good.
Yeah. That's what I was going to
You
say
can do it.
next.
Yep.
Yeah,
You
I
can.
don't have to worry. I won't have to worry about that for much longer, hopefully.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. My thing is, for a long time, there was this mirror image going on. Like literally, all of us. Okay, shouldn't say that. Majority of most of us kept looking in the mirror, and then as soon as we saw the ugliness, we kind of bodged it and let it reflect on the other people. And generally, as you know, I'm against division. I believe we can still be. Sorry, that wasn't supposed to happen. Um, we can be individuals and still be united. And the division has gotten out of control. And I'm not talking politicians, Michael. So when you're not working or you're not on air as much, you start watching other people, right? So I'm
Yeah.
watching other people. I'm watching other podcasts or reports or whatever, even social media pages of influencers. I'm like, whoa, I actually missed out on the fact of how badly the division is, to where we just have conservative hosts and reporters and activists and influencers sitting there just picking on the left for the purpose of picking on them, and then we have the liberal reporters just picking on the right for the purpose of picking on them.
Yeah.
We have gotten to a point where we're willing to cover up for our own side of messing up by blaming it on the other side, bluntly blaming it on the other side just because we can. And here's the thing: at the end of the day, let's go back to where Annie Cyrus always goes back to. What is it? We, the people, have allowed this to happen.
Yeah.
And I personally would like to think that is starting 2 days ago. We, the people, myself, have stopped. I will neither cover up for anyone, nor will I let them off the hook just because they belong to a specific party. No, not going to happen anymore.
Yeah, and I think for me at least, what the last several weeks has also crystallized is, we used to kind of lie to ourselves to a certain extent and tell ourselves it was just the Mitt Romneys and the Mitch McConnells and a few rhinos on the Republican side that were selling our side out in the political sense. But the last several weeks have really crystallized it is an insiders club, and we're not in it. So we need to get back with the people, the American people, like you said, regardless of party. And we also need to stop picking on the other side just to pick on them. If you have a legitimate argument or legitimate counter to something they're doing, then by all means bring that forward. But going after the people just to go after them is not productive, or to nitpick on tiny things that don't matter. So we need to focus on what's productive and actually moving an agenda forward and actually retaking this country for the people.
I will be completely fine with something that was not productive. At this point, Michael, it's counterproductive.
Agreed.
It is creating, hey Liz, Happy New Year. It's to a point where we're damaging ourselves. Or furthermore, as you know, I have a very good friend of mine who's a liberal, Fred, the musician. We were talking a few days ago during my vacation time, and we were both saying literally the same thing of how many more friends are we going to lose over this? How many more awkward situations are we going to have over this? Now, don't get me wrong, the disagreements don't need to go away. I'm not going to stop disagreeing, but I will not play along with the entire side of left bad. We were talking yesterday, Michael, when I said we can't say they're all bad, because I personally know a few representatives who have said yes to good bills and no to bad bills, but they are not big names out there getting the spotlight all day long, so nobody's noticing them. We have just as many good as many bad on both sides of the parties. But again, at the end of the day, who cares? What are we doing? Why are we silencing any opposition? Because that's the thing. For a very long time on many programs, Michael, we talked about, or they talked about, all journalists, the discussion was of, the left is accusing us of what they're doing. I'll tell you what, in 2022, we accused them of everything we've done. Oops, I said it.
Well, you're exactly right.
We have accused them every day of last year of things we did. We censored them. When was the last time a conservative or Republican host or a journalist or an activist invited a leftist on their show and gave them 5 minutes to discuss anything?
It doesn't happen often. And the few times it does, it's always the same usual suspects. It's almost like there's certain people that are allowed to like cross the line and have those discussions, but otherwise it just doesn't happen. And I do
Oh,
think some of
yeah. People who are on the left but are still anti-vax. People
yeah.
who did not go along with COVID. Done. End of story.
Oh, agreed. And otherwise, it tends to be the older classical liberals. It tends to be people kind of like the Joe Lieberman, somebody that was more of a common sense liberal. That yeah, we may disagree on certain issues, but when it comes down to core values, they're still willing to put America first and what's in our best interest. I think those people are kind of disappearing as part of the issue. But I also think it is to a certain extent almost a cartel on both sides, where we boycott MSNBC and they won't. They boycott our networks. It definitely works in both directions. So then neither side is hearing an opposing viewpoint or hearing any pushback or anybody questioning the things they're doing. It just creates these two siloed echo chambers.
Exactly. Now, on that note of America first, I'm just going to go there very quickly before we go more into discussion of what are the new things we're doing or changes. So, I want to say rumor has it, but rumor doesn't have it. This is public official. Marjorie Taylor Greene is endorsing and standing by McCarthy.
It's so disappointing.
Is it though? Or is it that we have been used to having blindfolds on for so long, now the light is shining through and we feel disappointed?
It's probably that she was somebody that did seem to always have a spine and stand with the people, wasn't afraid to step out from where the party was and call people out, and then to have her keep pushing for McCarthy. And apparently he doesn't sound like he's afraid of losing this race now. I guess he's already moved into Nancy Pelosi's old office as of either today or yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing. The reason I bring Marjorie Taylor Greene up, I want to be very clear. I'm not picking on her. I'm not saying she's a bad person, nor am I saying she's a bad representative. The reason I'm naming her is from the day she was elected until today, Marjorie Taylor Greene became one of our favorites because she is loud, she's blunt, she's fearless, she's standing up to some of the major issues we are having. However, at the same time, every time anything was said bad about her, that's when the blindfold comes in. We all jumped in to not even hear the sentence. We literally just jumped in and now they're leftist attack on a good Republican.
Yeah, exactly. That we get defensive before we've even heard what the real complaint is. Because again, like sometimes your opposition's correct and you need to rethink what you're doing.
Yeah, but here's the question. Who's the snowflake now?
Well, I guess it's all of us, isn't it?
Thank you. This is where I want to get us started this very new year, very first day on air. I want to be very clear. I am done. I will not play along with the society's newest game of last 15 years of we all have to agree to 100% of everything on the table. Otherwise, you're my enemy. No more. I'm done. I cannot possibly tangibly wrap my head around the possibility of losing America any further. I can't. Remember, we're at a point where we are losing some of the rights that are as basic as we have laughed at third world countries for many years for not having.
Yes.
Isn't that enough reason to stop the little pity parties we have gathered every single day over small matters that has absolutely nothing to do with our freedoms? I had enough. So I want to be very clear. Do not expect me to play along the Republican versus Democrat game any longer, because I am going to play American versus anti-American from now on. I don't care who they are. I don't care how much every single person might love them, cherish them, adore them. I won't do it.
And again, you're exactly right, because I do think a big part of what's led us to this exact situation is so many people just following blindly, voting for the party, and always defending the party or their representative, regardless of what that criticism was. And that's what has allowed them to move into these positions of power where they have total control, and it is the Americans versus the anti-Americans at this point. That is the way that we need to see the battlefield going forward. That there's almost as many that oppose us on our side as are actually in our corner. So again, we also need to elevate the real leaders that are on our side and help them. We need to, when they do something good, we need to congratulate them. When they do something bad, we need to speak out about it. But it can't
And,
be just based on party.
and thank you for saying that, because the point is, when we say, like, just, disclaimer, moving forward, live up to freedom program. Whenever we say our leaders, we are not referring to Republicans only, no longer. When we say a leader, we're talking about somebody who can lead. Now, generally, I can say this for sure, and then Michael, you can vouch for correctness of it. Both me and Michael, we do not in general say there is a perfect person, let alone a perfect politician. Anyone in the office, one way or another, somewhere, somehow, is doing what they shouldn't have been doing. We are aware of that. But considering the circumstances, sometimes you kind of sort of have to get behind someone that is going to do less damage than somebody else.
Yes.
Please wake up. We have exactly 1 year and 10 months before the presidential election is starting. Let's not do trains again. Let's not do blindfolds again. Let's not do I'm a vote for this person because I don't like that person again. You all know what I'm talking about. Let's wake up. Let's, at least before coming on air today, actually, I was on the phone having a wonderful discussion with a very special person. And he said something that was very interesting. He introduced me to a person I'm not familiar with. The person he introduced me to is an American activist who has given many speeches, but he just gave me one sentence of this person of saying, you cannot force Americans to practice their constitution if they don't want to.
Not
Let me
wrong
repeat
about
that
it.
again. You cannot make Americans to practice their constitution if they don't want to. Now, my thing is, I'm not going to make you, because if everybody's saying you can't make people do something, so I guess I can't. But I will say this. If you choose to not practice the Constitution, if you choose to not practice your God-given rights, if you choose to pick on other people while not fixing your own problems, then you should realize wherever this country goes, you have played a huge role on the negative side of events. That's all I'm saying. If you can live with that, if you can go to bed like a baby at night with that, good for you.
Well, bingo. You are exactly right. And a big part of how we got here and how we've had this accelerated loss of our rights and our basic freedoms over the last several years is because we didn't practice them. We've walked away from our rights, and we've also refused to hold government accountable for the change the Constitution is supposed to place on them. We've allowed our federal government to violate the law, our state governments, our local governments, and we've done nothing about it. By not exercising our rights and either speaking up or organizing or pushing these people out of office, at this point, we really are accomplices in a lot of the things that have happened, a lot of the losses that we've had of our personal freedoms, or these dark paths that we seem to be going down now towards digital currencies and other things that are just going to be further elements of control on us in the coming years.
Exactly. And also, it again goes back to reminding we, the people, are the bosses and they work for us. I sometimes really, Michael, feel like a broken record.
You and me both.
Like, how many times am I going to repeat the same thing over and over?
Well, it's
Hey,
because
the good
it seems so
The
simple.
the good thing is, the more I repeat it, the better I say it. Have you noticed certain words and certain sentences I have less accent? It's just because I repeat
Yeah.
it or something.
It's practice over and over again for weeks and weeks and months, and then those turn to years. But you're right. It does seem so simple, the things that we need to do. The problem is everybody thinks other people are going to do it for them, that they're not going to have to be the one to stand up. And it takes more than just a fraction of us to make a change. They can ignore a few of us. We just become flies. But when it's hundreds and thousands and thousands and thousands of us petitioning our government, showing up at rallies, or making our voices heard any way we can, that's when they tremble in their boots and they actually make changes.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Anything, there's a saying of this person that apparently it's the person who discovered alcohol. This person has a saying of anything in life, with excessive use of it becomes poison, whatever it is. Even too much water to drink could be bad for your body.
Yeah, can kill you.
I feel like all of the activism has somehow just gone. I trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. The alt left, alt right concept, it has become reality. It has. Every single activism in this country is turning into radicalism. It's like feminism. Now it's feminazism. You have the Child Protective Services. They have gone from protecting children into, smuggling children now.
Yes.
Just like that. You got the justice system. It is so broken at the moment that not even like Gorilla Glue is going to put it together. And again, 10 days of me not on air equals 10 days of me studying. So I'm like pouring all of this out in one show. The problem is we need to it's kind of like adjustment of rebalancing ourselves. Like, so one thing, Michael, that has bothered me the entire few days coming up to Christmas Eve was the fact that I'm contacting a couple of shelters. As you know, I do that. And this shelter, that shelter. So I contacted 4 shelters in 3 different states. Okay, 2 of them in one, other ones each. Every single one out of 4 literally said they are so overpopulated right now that they had to actually kick people out. What? You had to kick. And by the way, these are all battered wife shelters. That's where I go to. Call me whatever you want to call me. You had to turn someone away from your shelter in this cold in Midwest area. Tell them, sorry, I don't have a blanket or a pillow for you. Even though you trusted me, you built the courage and the strength to walk away from your abusive whomever. But why? Every single one answer, budget cut.
That's horrifying, both because of the weather and it's over Christmas, over the holiday season. It's happening.
I can tell you from a former abused victim, the courage it takes to come out, the courage it takes to grab a bag and go, isn't something you want to face with, oh, sorry, we don't have room for you. Now, let's quickly connect that because we only have like 7 minutes of our Lindell TV audience to go. Let's connect this to, we have shelters that have to turn people, some with children. Remember, some of the abusive mothers have their children with them or one kid with them. They have to be turned around on holiday season because budget cut and nobody's donating and economy, whatever. But then we're giving how much again to Pakistan gender study, Michael?
$200 million for gender studies in Pakistan.
Here's information. There are 2 genders, man, woman, female, male. End of a story. Nobody needs budget for it.
Problem solved.
Who'd have thought? What a concept, huh?
Exactly.
So we have budget to give them, and we have budget to give everybody, but we can't even take care of our own people.
Well,
now, my question is, where are the feminists? Where are they? Where are they? This doesn't fit the narrative?
No, it doesn't. It's just like when they ignore Islam. They won't speak out about that either. It hurts their narrative. It hurts their messaging. It hurts the team they play for, so they won't talk about it.
Yeah, but the question is why are, again, let's circle right back. Oh, whoa. Did I become the circle back girl? Oh, no, she circled back without answers. Never mind. I got confused.
Yeah, right.
Let's circle back to the beginning. We the people.
Mhm.
We the people. I personally know too many people who are still funding and donating and sending money to the feminist organizations. None of these feminist organizations are out there trying to help any of these shelters. They aren't. And yet, better, there aren't any of the feminists out there fighting for our broken justice system to protect these women. And I'm going to add a note here for anyone who wants to come after me. Yes, I realize and I understand there are men in relationship who are being abused by their women. I am aware of that. Not saying they're not there. However, the number of women being abused are ridiculously higher. And the broken justice system is what they have to face. It is a lot harder by nature, those who would be aware and agree there are only two genders. It is a little harder based on system of genes and hormones and body. It is a little harder for a woman to snap out of it, not need the protection, walk away, and not be beat up tomorrow. It is what it is. But
Yeah.
yeah, but where is all the petitions? Why is it in United States of America starting 2023 it's still there's a statute of limitation for rape? If you get away with your rape for 5 years, you won't face charges. Well, screw you, because the pain ain't going to go away after 5 years for the person you raped.
And again, stuff like that's just disgusting. It's a holdover from a time before there was DNA evidence or other things where it made it impossible for a conviction. But again, those laws need to change. And to clarify one other thing that you said, there are men's shelters anyway for men that are leaving bad relationships and other things. They just don't need as many of them, and they don't tend to have the same kind of budget shortfalls because you don't need hundreds of them. I used to live in Florida. There was one that was in Kissimmee that there were had rooms for, I want to say it was like 16 or 18 guys. I actually knew a guy that would volunteer there. Like these things do exist, but the fact that right over the holidays that these battered women's shelters are having to throw people out is something that everybody should be disgusted by. And as you said, to have these feminist organizations just ignore the problem, sweep it under the rug, nobody says anything.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's up to us to actually make these changes and do things. We want to see actions. We have to remember a lot of these organizations, these charitable groups, they're really just set up to line the pockets for the people that run them. They don't do much in the way of real activism now anyway. Or you know, they just funnel money to Congress. I mean, the whole system is screwed up.
Do you know why they don't do much activism anymore? As a human rights activist myself, because when you fight for human rights, no one's interested. You got to fight for a party, right?
Exactly.
As long as you're fighting for a human, who cares? But if you get your hands dirty with one party versus other, everybody's behind you. That's why a lot of activism has changed into something else, one way or another.
Yeah. Well, they become tools. Like, you know, we saw this with BLM. They became tools to just fundraise for for Act Blue. That's where the bulk of their donations went. It wasn't about giving back to the Black community or making, you know, changes to the justice system or anything else that they preached. It was just a way to raise money for a bunch of old white men that were running for office. But you try telling that to people that donate the money, that this group that they feel like they believe in or society tells them they should believe in, you try telling somebody that and they're just not willing to listen, unfortunately. So that's what we need to fix. We need to get everyone's ears open again somehow.
Yeah, you know what they're gonna say if you say that to somebody? You're such a racist. With your white privilege in this country.
I'm used to it at this point.
I'm not. I'm not white.
Yeah,
I mean, my hair's white, but I'm not white. What you talking about? But anyhow, okay, we need to wrap up for our Lindell TV audience. But I'm gonna just say this: there are ways, many different ways, for all Americans to petition many parts of this budget, the spending budget that was signed by both party, to redirect some of that for shelters, either veterans hospitals, veterans shelter, battered wife shelters, homelessness. Push before this money is spent again and then possibly some more printed. Please take action. Please stand up. Pick up the phone. Call your representative. make changes, because this money is my tax money. It's your tax money. I don't want to give it to Pakistan or Iran or France or anybody. And I most definitely don't want to spend money on somebody else's surgery. Listen, when I needed the surgery, I went and done it myself. I didn't come ask everybody's tax money to pay for my surgery. You want to change gender? That is absolutely your God-given right. Good for you. I wish you a great recovery. Don't ask me to pay for it. End of story.
Exactly. And, you know, that's an item we pick on because it's outrageous that $200 million goes to Pakistan for gender studies. But there's so much bloat and garbage in this budget. It's and the sad part is more of it went to like overseas causes and things than it even went to here at home. It's just a line pockets. Half of this, I swear, is just money laundering schemes for people that are already in power.
Yes, it is. Okay, our Lindell TV audience, thank you so much for staying with us. Happy New Year again. We will see you tomorrow. The rest of our audience on all other platforms, do not go anywhere. We're going to take a 1-minute commercial break and be back to discuss this budget further.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell. Years ago, when I invented MyPillow, I was faced with every adversity you could think of. No retailers wanted to sell MyPillow. That's come full circle. Vendors took advantage of me, and I was copied by China. Well, by the grace of God, I was able to get through all that and learn from it. I have a passion to help other U.S. entrepreneurs, and that's why I created my new platform, mystore.com. We have hundreds of products from amazing entrepreneurs, and to celebrate, I'm going to put my pillows on mystore.com right now. You can get my standard My Pillows regularly $69.98, now only $19.98 with your promo code. Or you can get my standard queen size, regular $79.98, now only $29.98. Or you can get my premium king size, regularly $89.98, now only $34.98. So go to mystore.com and use that promo code on your screen to get huge discounts on all My Store products. Thank you and God bless.
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with us until now. Yes, go to mypillow.com or mystore.com. Use promo code AC21. You get discount, we get credit, so we can continue doing what we do. Don't forget about my artist store, lutfstudio.com. lutfstudio.com. We did just release a couple of new items. However, about 30 new items are coming in. When I say new items, I don't necessarily mean new design. We actually have new items. Like, product is different. I'm going to try to remember, but help me out here, Michael, if I forget. We have a set now that is a plate and a bowl, custom made, handmade, everything resin, food safe, temperature safe, all that stuff. You cannot put it in the microwave. I got that question, by the way. Can I put this? No, that's too hot for that. We have... what else do we have on new products? I can't
There's
remember.
a gorgeous clock that you just made. And that the seashell plate, amazing.
Oh yes, the tray.
Platter. Yes.
Yes. You see, I've been just like literally just producing, but we got new products. New collection 2023 collection is going to be gradually posted or listed, expanding. Yes. Very soon, as I said, we're gonna get some different items in as well. However, in the meantime, lutfstudio.com, promo code Frank, and you'll be supporting us as well. All the good stuff. Again, liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.com, where you want to go. Now, back to it. The spending budget. Tell us about it, Michael. What else? Who else are we giving money to?
Well, it's also who we're taking away from. This is what I was going to bring up before, but we had to cut out to the break. It also cut away money from several veterans programs, including programs specifically to help veterans get out of homelessness and deal with addiction. So we cut money there, but then we're going to give money to, again, it's also children's hospitals here that are performing gender transitions or whatever they want to call them now. It went to, again, fund groups that lobby for these things, local activists, local efforts for, more drag queen story hours at your local library. So again, we end up fighting our federal government on a lot of these issues, and we're paying for their war chest. Well, we're not even doing that. We're borrowing it against ourselves and against our futures. We don't have money for any of this budget that just went through. We didn't have money for that $1.2 trillion infrastructure that just went through either, that McConnell and Biden were celebrating today together. So this is all money we don't have. We've mortgaged our futures, our children's futures, our grandchildren's futures at this point, and we're spending it frivolously. Probably, out of this budget, I would bet easily 80 to 90% of it could be cut. I mean, the federal government's really, they're only responsible for our nation's defense, and they don't even do that. So why are we
What
funding all these
difference?
other things? Yes. Yeah, exactly. We're giving missiles and weapons to Ukraine right now. We can't do that fast enough, and we're not even replenishing our own supply. So if something does happen, we're unprepared.
Oh, I'll do you one better.
Yeah.
We left $150 billion equipment, military weapon in Afghanistan for Taliban.
Yeah. And now some of
I
that's
mean,
being used in Iran against their own people.
yep. I mean, it happens, it happens in every single day, every country when they withdraw from another country, which, by the way, when you talk about budget, I just want to go back a little bit. There has been a lot of things we didn't have the budget for. And one of the reasons I get it, I'm no expert on finances. Well, maybe I am. I just don't really brag about it. But here's the thing. One of the reasons we're facing hyperinflation in certain area right now and other areas about to be hit by it is not necessarily, again, it's not Biden did it. No, it goes way back. Okay. We kept borrowing way back. Way back when? The very first time a Republican president decided that September 11 happened, bring behind Operation Hezbollah, hijackers, Saudi Arabian, let's go to Iraq.
Because that makes perfect sense.
Because that makes perfect sense. And the funny thing is, nobody's asking the question of what are we doing there? Because at that point, people want revenge. Okay, again, we the people failed. Anyhow, we didn't have the budget for that war. We didn't achieve anything out of that war. We lost billions, if not trillions. We lost lives of both sides. And we ended up with absolutely nothing to show for it. What? We got Saddam Hussein. Two things. Number one, I will repeat this. At that point, people of Iraq wanted Saddam Hussein, regardless of how much we say he was a dictator. The people of Iraq never looked at us as their savior. They never said, you liberated us. They fought us back, didn't they, Michael?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was foreign fighters too, but yeah, a lot of them were Iraqis that wanted us out of the country.
Yeah. So we achieved nothing, and getting Saddam Hussein did not require that whole war. It didn't.
No.
When we went into Afghanistan, we didn't need the war. We didn't need the 20 years of spending. So this hyperinflation didn't start yesterday because Biden started doing executive orders. It has started way back. These are just final steps.
Yeah.
It is so liberating when I can sit here and say, this didn't start yesterday because now I'll talk about everybody who messed up.
Well, yeah, well, and you're exactly right, too. It's been going on for decades and decades and decades. Even prior to the war on terror, we've been doing deficit spending. I'm trying to remember the last time the U.S. had a balanced budget, because I think it was before World War I. But there was a time in our past where even if we did need to borrow money to pay for emergency spending due to a war, due to something else, that then you paid that money back over the coming years. But we don't do that anymore. The deficit just grows and grows and grows. I remember in like the 90s when there was the debt clock in New York, and you could see this number ticking up every second. You could see what your individual share was. And then you look at what it is today. I mean, there's no way most of our country could pay back our debt where we're at right now. And if we haven't actually crossed the line, we're very close to the point where our debt, we're not able to pay it back. That it exceeds our country's GDP with interest, where it becomes physically impossible. We are bankrupt.
Yeah, I know why. I think they use the same type of battery on the death clock as majority of Americans who say not on my watch.
Yeah, exactly.
The death clock ran out of battery.
Oh yeah.
Talk about
it probably ran out of digits with where we're at now. I mean, we're over $30 trillion in debt at this point. And it wasn't that long ago that we were crossing into 12, 14. I mean, it's doubled just since Obama was in office, more than doubled just since Obama. So, and remember, Trump was in office for 4 years of that, and it kept going up. So it is both sides, but it's also failure to do anything about it or stop all this just ridiculous spending and actually concentrate on things that our country actually needs and that help us. Again, the gender studies in Pakistan is funny to talk about, but every year there's something called Waste Book published that has billions and billions of dollars of unnecessary spending. Everything from, seeing how rats react while they're on cocaine to, ridiculous gender studies programs.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I understand we are where we are as far as technology and advanced lifestyle, all that, because of lots of research. I get it. Just in case. Two things I don't get is, number one, why are we spending money on like other countries? And I understand the aid that's involved, but this is an aid, okay? This is just, hey, you want to study genders here. And again, Pakistan? You kidding me? Anyways,
Well,
I,
even when it comes to foreign aid, I don't think we have the money to fund any
this
country.
is where the second point is. Foreign aid, study, research, all of that is when the country is not facing hyperinflation. Then, okay, fine. When you don't have the money, when you don't have the budget, when you have the highest rating of addiction and suicide and homelessness, you don't go study gender in Pakistan. You just don't. It's common sense. Oh, wait, we removed that a few years ago. My bad. We
Well,
don't
yeah,
do that anymore.
and it's not that like we can't help out anywhere ever. Like if there's a natural disaster in freaking Uzbekistan and they need bottles of water and food, just in shelters temporarily for the people while they get back into housing, or they need temporary medical care, by all means, if we have if Rescue One is available and we have small resources like that, send over, help those people get through the hardship. But we don't need to be funding other countries to the tune of billions and billions and billions of dollars every year, or paying people's budgets at the UN. I mean, there was a time, I know it's a little less now, but for a long time, the U.S. was spending almost 2/3 of the UN's budget. It was coming out of our pockets. It was 65 point some odd percent, like just barely short of 2/3 of the UN's spending was being funded by U.S. taxpayers.
Hmm. Yep. We were funding UN so they could have Saudi Arabia and Iran sit on women's rights seat while they're still selling their kids at age 9 and raping women and owning them as property. That's what we were
It's
doing.
disgusting.
Hey,
Yeah,
what do I know, right? I just had a couple of bad experiences with my dad.
yeah, that's what they tell me.
I don't know much about it. But on that note, I guess Happy New Year to Times Square, huh?
Yeah, another and yet another terrorist attack where the FBI was alerted to this guy before anything
Michael,
happened.
Michael, it's 2023.
Right.
Gotta come in. It was another lone wolf attack
Hang on, let me
by a
write this down.
young man. Remember, that's what it was. Another lone wolf attack by a young man. No name, no race, no religion. There was no Allah Akbar. There was no machete. No, we didn't hug him enough. He was feeling lonely on New Year's Eve. So he decided he's going to go kill people. Oh, anybody who didn't catch the sarcasm, that was sarcastic. Okay, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, it's probably because his school didn't have an adequate gender transition program in it. That's probably why all this happened.
That's true. Yeah, probably. But no, okay. I'm sorry. I apologize. I can't. I'm sorry. I can't. It's
Well,
at a point where it's tragically funny for me. Like,
yeah,
how
it crossed the
long have
line.
I been warning? I called it. I called New Year's Eve, didn't I?
Yeah. Well, and you're exactly right. It's crossed the line into the obscene because we've talked about it so many times. There's been so many warnings, and still nothing done. And about this point, the only thing you can do is laugh about it. Like I almost like feel like the Joker now. That like society's gone crazy, and I'm just responding to
I was going to do my lipstick a little higher here, but I figured people might freak out.
it.
Yes.
Just throw the white paint on, do the lips, just go all in.
And that's the thing. The guy. Okay, just in case if somebody missed the news. New Year's Eve, Times Square, New York. 19-year-old, right? He was 19.
Yes, 19 years old.
19 years old boy decides to go on a street and just wave his machete. That thing was some serious business. I mean, like,
Yeah, it was
about
a
this tall. It was
big
about,
kukri.
yeah, the edge was about this wide. Anyways, waving it, Allahu Akbaring, and catching whomever he could. But I believe 3 police officers, one of them a rookie, was injured. As of right now, I have not heard anyone dead, but I know 2 of them had bad injuries.
Yeah, I know 2 of them were in critical but stable condition. At least one of the police officers suffered a fractured skull and was going to need additional surgeries. And then obviously the terrorist, he's also being treated. since he managed to catch a bullet.
Just one? Darn it.
I'm actually not sure if he was shot once or more than once. I know he was shot in the shoulder 3 times. Okay.
You know why I said 3 times? 3 times, the eye for an eye?
Mhm.
You injure 3 officers, you get 3 bullets in return. But
This
yes,
makes sense.
this person does it, and here's the most interesting part of it of all. Even CNN put a report saying this person had a very disturbing manifesto, and also mentioning that this person's biggest dream was to join Taliban.
Yes. Fight alongside them.
CNN. I mean, woo! That happens, but every single report from every single side of reporting failed to mention that he was already a practicing Muslim. They kept saying he wanted to join Taliban, but none of them mentioned that this person is already a practicing Muslim. Huh.
Yeah. And the other thing that I found interesting is I think, it was the New York Post that I actually saw this in their story. But apparently his mother and his aunt in the last 30 days had both contacted the FBI and reported this guy and said, hey, this dude wants to run off to Afghanistan, go link up with the Taliban, and go, fight for an Islamic caliphate. So two relatives call in to report this guy, and
he was on the watch list. Yes.
Yeah, he was on their watch list, but again, nothing's being done. They're not watching him, and you would think again, this guy is a serious threat, and they do nothing. Like the FBI just fails us over and over again. Like I don't know what service they actually provide now, except to like harass people on January 6th.
Well, the thing is, with the FBI, they don't want to be Islamophobe.
Of course.
I'm genuinely serious right now. Remember,
Oh.
we removed the following terms and words from all training books of FBI, such as Islam, Islamic terror, jihad, Muslim, caliphate. They were all removed, like officially removed from training. So, not defending them. I'm just saying, if you're not trained, like I'm not a trained surgeon, if I have to stitch myself up, there's a good chance I'm going to screw it up.
Yeah, or at least you're going to have some scars.
I'm just saying, we are not training our law enforcement altogether how to handle a situation like this. But what I will say, just to add, is Islamization is going farther and farther in America. And as much as I have come to this wisdom of no more parties, and I can respect opinions, but no, there's one. Here's where I will draw a line. Huge red, like literally this red of a line. That no. Islamization still needs to stop. And for anyone with argument that we normally have this argument of, this religion has that and that religion has that. Two things: Islam is not a religion; it is absolutely a system, more of a political military system. And number two, again, chapter 5 verse 9 could be a good example of why this happened. This New Year's Eve situation happened. Kill them wherever you find them.
It's a cult.
And more and many more of those verses. This is where I draw the line. I will gladly get along with anyone who is not every day practicing or training themselves to join anyone or any cult or any group of people that is going to harm other people. I just don't do that. I can't do that. I can't have a neighbor who doesn't value another human's life. It's just the way I am. It is what it is. I am who I am. On that note, Islamization is still going forward. Anti-Islamophobia bill is still happening and going forward as far as Ilhan Omar is concerned. We are still sitting at record elected officials of Muslims in America, sitting at 219. Remember, the number of Muslims in America is only 1.1% of the population. However, they have 219 officials elected. That number should be concerning, should be a little uncomfortable. But again, what do I know? I just have a couple of bad experiences.
Yeah, well, and again, they're also they're from their point of view proactively tackling the problem. They're pushing more legislation, more rules for exemptions and special powers and privileges. And that 219 number, that is a big increase from the previous year. What was it? And I'm sorry, I don't remember this. From the previous year, wasn't it like 163 or 100 and something like that? And,
Previous year was well,
or previous
you
election
got
cycle.
a
Sorry.
previous selection. It's
Yeah.
like auto generated. I can't even say election anymore. It's like the previous selection. It's like
Yeah.
automatically. You see, this is how realistic my brain works, Michael. Just so you know. Anyways, you got to deduct 83 from 219, and you get the number.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So it's but to have that giant increase again, like they're pursuing goals, they're moving forward, they're grasping more power, and again, we are doing nothing about it, nothing to combat it. And if some of these legislation gets pushed through that protects them from even criticism or even talking about these things, then that pushes us off from an avenue to actually defend ourselves.
But that's as we wrap up here. I feel like that is what seemed to be wanted, Michael.
Yeah.
Uh, in many different ways and for many different reasons. I've seen people who are just tired, they have accepted the defeat. I've seen people who are just fed up with trying, so they're just kind of minding at this point. They're like, I'm not going to even bother, I'm just going to live life until it's over. We have the group of older generation who are like, well, it's at the end of my run, I'm just
Yeah.
going to run off the clock. Wow, I'm mean today.
But you're exactly right. And I think that the way you see it is true, that especially again, like you talked about, like older Americans, they feel like, okay, well, we're about to check out. We just don't understand what's going on now. So we're just going to worry about us. And then there's the younger group doing the same thing. There's also people that are just scraping by, that they're so worried about the day-to-day problems, the inflation, the expenses at the grocery store. I mean, I just saw the cost of vegetables at the grocery store is up 40 something percent, 43%, I think, over last year. And people are so wrapped up in their own lives and the problems that they're facing that they're not looking at this bigger picture. And that's part of how these things get moved so fast, because there aren't enough of us that are willing to resist or enough of us actually paying attention.
Very true. But one thing is, as I said, stepping into this reset of calendar, because that's what it is to me at this point. There is no new year. It's just
Yeah.
we just resetted the calendar back to January 1st. It feels like I will not give it up because it's just not in my nature. However, I will kind of switch or change gears a little bit. I'll go back to origins of what I've done in 2022 per request of many. As you know, Michael, we concentrate on a lot of politics. We try to, because of midterms, we concentrate on a lot of things. Now, I personally am not going to go down that rabbit hole again, at least not this year, because as far as human rights across the globe, but specifically in America, things are getting better. And I understand we are still the free land. No, we're not. We're lacking two major component for that phrase of land of the free because of the brave. We don't have the free land and we don't have braves anymore. So that is more of where I want to go with 2023. We got to remind people where our rights are. And as I said, to open the discussion of, as much as free speech applies to me and you, it applies to anyone from any other party as well. We got to stop acting like kids. We got to stop being one way minded. I
Yes.
just don't want to go there anymore. If someone from any party or any background have something to say, I'm going to listen. Doesn't mean
Yeah.
I'm going to apply it, but I'm going to listen, because I'm going to hope and pray that when I do that, one day they'll return the favor and listen to something I have to say. We gotta reopen communication. For love of all things, freedom of speech. We have lost it.
Agreed. And we're not willing to stand up for what we do have. So keep more and more of it keeps getting taken. That I think our side keeps getting pacified, and because we're frustrated. It's almost like we just throw in the towel and we don't even fight anymore. But that isn't how we're gonna take back this country or win anything. We've got to stand firm. We have to exercise our rights and our values or they really are just going to disappear and there won't be any of us left. We'll just get stomped over.
Agreed. 100%. We're going to wrap up here. What are your last thoughts for today, Michael? What are you leaving our audience with?
Well, it is a new year, even if that, and it's a new calendar and a new year. So we all last year we made a lot of promises, said we were going to do things and that we were going to change things, and a lot of that didn't happen. So what are we going to do differently to actually accomplish some of these goals? How can we change as individuals to reunite this country under the banner of our Constitution, our freedom, our values, and our Christianity? What can we do to actually get things back on track? And how can each of us make the sacrifices necessary to make that happen?
That is a very, very good question that might possibly remain to be answered for a little longer. The only thing I'm going to add to what you said, Michael, for our audience is there is a moment in all of our lives, some sooner, some later. There is a moment when, regardless of how much we run, how much we don't hear it, there will be that moment when there is a single question that we will ask ourselves. And it is a terrible feeling to not have an answer for that question when it's asked of us by ourselves. So plan your year and your actions around that question. So when the time comes and you ask yourself that question, not to have regrets on it. And the question I'm referring to is, did you live your life or were you alive? There's a huge difference. With all the dirty games of politicians and elites and globalism and socialism and Islamism and ism, our life has turned into so much of a chaos that we have lost track of what's the difference between being alive or living a life. Try to put yourself back in track of living a life. Hey, one in a lifetime chance to live your life. So live your life.
Yeah, you
Your
can't just
life.
you can't just let the calendar tick down waiting for the next day or the next event. You have to actually do something with your life, accomplish things, achieve your goals. Don't just sit there and let the clock tick down.
Agreed. Hey, Larry. Michael Larry's here with us. He just made a comment. Love you too. Okay. On that very, 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 very positive note, let's do one more shout out to everybody who's been here with me specifically for 7 years, with me and Michael for about a year now. You are absolutely a blessing to both of us. None of this will ever happen if you all decide to dump us. Don't do that. Our relationship is so pretty. Don't dump us.
Exactly. We have so much more to offer.
Much more. And on that note, we are bringing you more. Remember, we are still working on that situation of building a studio where we will do more and more. Couple of petitions coming up in next couple of months. Keep your eyes on. We will be back on Facebook next Tuesday. That's when my ban will be lifted. So much for freedom of speech. Do stay in touch with us. liveuptofreedom.com. And come back tomorrow at same time, literally exact same time, 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time. That's all the time zones I could just make up on my head. It's good to travel around the country and live life in different states. You kind of automatically get the time zones. Come back tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central Time. We will be back. I don't know, Michael, you joining me tomorrow as well, or am I going solo?
Oh, I'll be here tomorrow. I'll be here.
Perfect. So see you all tomorrow. Stay safe and stay vigilant. As always, may God bless you and may God bless America.
And thanks again. Don't forget to live up to freedom.